so excited to continue this amazing series as we embark upon the 25th anniversary of the 1995 Atlanta Braves World Series. And today we are bringing it forward. Atlanta influences everything. And we have a beautiful panel today, including Bem Joiner, who has curated that movement of Atlanta influences everything. Don Cannon. Gotta say it like that. You gotta say it like that. Yes. Founder, Generation Now, music exec, just an all-around great guy, producer. Also, Touki Toussaint from the Atlanta Braves, pitcher from the Atlanta Braves. Really excited to have you on today. Influences everything, and being that, during that time, 1995, the summer leading into it, the actual winning of the World Series, and how that kind of shaped the culture and leading us into the Olympics and all of that. Talk about how Atlanta influences everything, and how that winning and how that championship kind of changed the narrative and the trajectory of our city.
I guess the Goody Mob, when Gip come on the record and be like 1995, like that little, you know what I'm saying? That little, and it's crazy dealing with the coronavirus, man. There's, the conspiracy theories, cell therapy, and just that Soul Food album. And you look at the cell therapy video and what they were talking about in 95, you know what I'm saying? And then you look at, what's going on now. It's like, man, Atlanta on some real Southern soothsayer. That red clay had started bubbling, you know what I'm saying? So yeah, that was really the vibe for 95 for me.
Yeah, that's funny that you mentioned that. Yeah, my dad is a legendary high school football coach, and we actually won the state championship that year. That you were alluding to that game. So that was a beautiful moment. Touki, let me bring you in. I mean, obviously you're a young guy. I don't think you were even born when the Braves won the World Series. But what do you take from knowing that, being that you're on this roster now and doing so much for our city? What have you been able to even take from that history to implement into who you are as a player and a cultural leader in this city?
I mean, I kind of know about the 96, 95 little era, because all those guys keep running in our face like, oh, we got one. Where's yours? So, I mean, for me, it's like he said, the energy for us is we're young and we're in this game with a whole bunch of older guys, and we're bringing on this new energy that other teams are basically copying, if that makes sense. You know what I mean? And it's like you walk in that Atlanta clubhouse and it's different. And I've grown up around baseball, and I've been in multi different clubhouses, and it's different. It's like there's a statement. You say you play for Atlanta Braves, people open their eyes like, oh, okay.
Wow.
You know what I mean? Like, it's not oh, you play for so-and-so. It's like Atlanta Braves. I know who that is.
Yeah,
so,
yeah.
And that's built from the bottom, from 95, before that. And I mean, it's a blessing. It's an honor. I mean, being so young and being part of this, it's a blessing.
Have you really truly sat back and thought about you as an African American player, and being that we don't see a lot of Black players in Major League Baseball, and knowing the history that you come from? Do you ever sit in it and understand that the role that you play in at least getting more young Black men in the sport? Do you ever sit in that, even at your young age?
I do, because I mean, growing up where I grew up in Broward County, Florida, it's like you go and play and there's nobody out there. To be real, I was a token, you know what I mean? And so playing in Atlanta, it's like everybody is predominantly Black.
Right.
So it's like when I go to speak to kids and they're like, oh, you play ball. And it's like, yeah, man, like you can play ball too. And that's a great feeling, just knowing I can talk to these kids, inner city kids or kids anywhere that are my color or of my descent, whatever, that I can speak to them and they hear me out and be like, if he can do it, I can do it. You know what I mean? And because back home, yeah, I can do it, but it's I'm reaching a small crowd, and that small crowd be like, I'll just go play football. But in
Mm.
Atlanta, it's so many of us that is like, all right, let me go play ball. Let me go try.
Yeah.
So I mean, I have sat back and been like, I played for the Braves, and I am one of the only Black ones on the team, and I can take this and run with it. And I have done like talk to the kids, and anything that comes up, I'm like, put me in there.
Yeah, good. Because we definitely need to see it. Yeah, absolutely. Don Cannon. You gotta have your own intro. As a producer, DJ, all of the things that you've been able to do, what makes Atlanta so special? And if you could take it back to when the city won a championship, and now we're coming out of that, and I believe that just kind of, it changed everything for us. How were you able to kind of curate that into how you produce music and how you really present yourself in the industry?
It's a little different for me because I didn't get to Atlanta since '97, but I had cousins going to the AUC in '95, so we'll come down in the summer and come visit them. And it changed the trajectory of music because that was when Atlanta, for some odd reason, they didn't think that Atlanta had an identity. You know what I mean? They thought everybody was from New York, or, you know, they dressed over here, this type of person on the South Side. So when I was coming down, I was 15 years old. I was looking at Atlanta like, man, it's an identity here. You know, I was boom bap rap to the end, but then just hearing Southern Playalistic and ATLiens, those albums along with Who You With Little John, really kind of like put an edge on my music because I was real straight. KRS-One, DJ Premier, and this was like a different type of soul for me. You know, it added more live elements, and those were the things that I was trying to get into my music anyway, because back then it was just break beats and samples, and that was the limit you had, you know, especially with the equipment. So, you know, in those days, you know, and then you flip it on the Atlanta Braves side, like, you know, I've been a Phillies fan all my life, Philadelphia Phillies, and what happened to me when I was young, none of my my teams would win. So I had the Eagles, they forever losing. You know what I'm saying? And I had the Phillies, which I was kind of envious seeing Dave Justice and Chipper Jones and all win the title. I was like, damn it, why my city ain't getting no title, man? I was hot, and we got one in 1980, and then all the way probably to 2008 is when we first, you know, got a good look. So, you know, even around those days when I just touched in 97, I felt like all the influence of the Olympics, all the influence of the baseball team, and then Little John, and then, you know, one of the most important statements in hip hop, Andre 3000 said, you know, the South got something to say. Every time I think about that, I always think he's going to say, yo, Atlanta got something to say.
Right.
You know what I mean? I never thought the South, because when he said the South, I was like, oh, he talking about Atlanta. I don't know nobody else in the South.
Right.
So that's how I kept it. And I was like, well, I'm moving to Atlanta. As soon as my mom give me the chance to move, I'm out. And I went down there, and, you know, and it kind of saved my life. You know, being in Philly is not a easy city to come out of, especially, you know, for us running around as kids, you know, and people lie to you and say, yeah, you ain't going to make it past 21. You ain't going to get a job. You're going to end up in jail. They just said that to all of us in high school. Like, that was just the stigma. Like, yeah, here's the stat. This is what you're going to be. So when I got to Atlanta, it was like a breath of fresh air, and it was like so much stuff moving. You know, everybody was really, for the most part, messing with each other. Pastor Troy was sticking up for the city.
Right.
But this was different from Philly because we were all like fighting each other all the time. You know what I mean? So
right. I love it. Very much. Let's talk about it. Like when you and your team came up with the Atlanta influences, everything that had to come from something. What makes our city so special, and why is it so important for you to continue to push the narrative of what Atlanta is forward?
It's a mixture of like the stuff that you and I got a chance to experience firsthand, and then and then you add that to a Touki. And side note, Touki, you gotta meet, if you don't know Touki Carter from City of Ink, Like, y'all got to link.
So crazy thing is, right? Listen to this side story. My bad.
No, go ahead.
I got tatted there, and I walked in. And I told the dude my name. His name Chris. I think Chris is the guy.
Yeah.
And we started talking, and he's like, "What's your name, bro?" Like, I didn't really get your name because Touki's not my real name. So on the paper, I had to write my real name, and I was like, "My real name's Danny." He's like, "What?" Because my boys kept coming in like, "Yo, Took." He's like, "What's your name, bro?" I was like, "Touki." He's like, "Touki." I'm like, "Yeah, Touki." He's like, "No, that's Touki." And I was like, "Man, get out of here." And then here come Touki, comes up the stairs like, "What, bro? Your name's Touki?" I'm like, "Yeah, I'm Touki. You're not Touki."
Wow.
Does he know you with the Braves?
No, I don't advertise that.
Oh,
Man.
Touki, you gotta tell him.
Yeah, that's so dope. Do you know anything about Touki's life? Like what he does? Oh yeah, you don't know the Wiz Khalifa story? Okay, yeah, it's so much, yo. Y'all gotta build.
They'll get there.
Yeah.
I feel like they'll get there.
Yeah. It's gotta happen now. It's gotta happen now.
But that Touki is from Carson, California, and so when you take growing up in Atlanta in that time period, but then you take what that Touki brought to Atlanta and what he's been able to do in Atlanta, you take Don Cannon's story, and then you take Braves Touki. Like none of them grew up in that space in which I guess we were tilling the soil, whether we knew it or not. You know what I'm saying? And I think it's a mixture of the person that has moved from Philly, from Jersey, from Jacksonville, Florida, from Jackson, Mississippi, from St. Louis, all kind of Black, and they brought their energy and whatever the culture was where they was from, and they brought it on top of to mix in with the soil that we had already tilled.
Yeah.
And so because the influence, it ain't just Atlanta born when you start looking at all the different dynamics, but what it has, the one thing it has in common is a certain hue. It's most definitely a certain hue, and it's a certain aura that come off of that hue. Sure. And when you start getting all these stories, everybody came here for of the energy that we created. And so in the Brave story and Outcast story, we never weaved them. You know what I'm saying? And so that's why this conversation is so important, because it's weaving. And that's what all these other larger cities, LA and New York, their stories are weaved very well.
Yeah.
And so, that's where that came from.
I think that's what this conversation and why it's so important to talk about everything leading up to the Braves winning the World Series, but then the aftermath of how the city grew from that win and how we just took ownership of Atlanta. When you look at this A-hat, so I'm gonna ask you this. What does it mean to you when you see this A?
That's a whole country. It's not even a city, it's a country behind you. I mean, I remember, 16, 17 when we were really that good. And we were there, but we weren't fully there, you know what I mean? And we're still getting a whole bunch of fans. We're going to other cities and there's a whole bunch of fans. I'm playing in A-ball and there's a whole bunch of fans. And I'm like, what is this? I used to play for the Diamondbacks, so I wasn't used to the care from the fans. They would yell at me sometimes, but it was still like, I care about you. Like, I want to see you succeed for yourself and for our city. And I don't even call it a city. That's a whole different place, if that makes sense. Like, I haven't seen anything like it, and we've played everywhere.
Yeah. So Don, what about you when you see that now that, my mom's from Philly, my mom's from West Philly, so I understand that the Philly culture, but now you have been, like you're in the culture here in Atlanta. Tell us about a pivotal moment or one of those monumental moments here in Atlanta that you've said to yourself, oh, this is home.
like drama always says, we're Phil-Atlanteans. You know what I'm saying? So hence the name, the affiliates, A for the Atlanta, affiliates for Philly, and we're affiliated. So one of our big points, and I'm not gonna lie, there was a stage in Atlanta that went from any, I guess when Little John and everybody was beefing up the Atlanta, we got something to say kind of stage. We were coming down here, we were trying to bring something new, and it wasn't quite accepted when we first got here. You know what I mean? And I don't know if it was the wrong generation. I don't know if it was just how Atlanta was just, everybody was beefed up. They've been suppressed for so long that, now they're coming out with, if you don't like Atlanta, fly away. If you, songs like that. So like we were pushing these mixtapes, and it was like we were going to all kinds of neighborhoods on 20 East. We was going to Bounce. We was going to 559. We was going so many places, and we was going there. They call everybody New York. Everybody, hey, New York. I'm from Philadelphia.
Right.
Hey, New York. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
It wasn't accepted because I don't know if the New Yorkers was coming down here causing hell, whatever it was, but I think at the point we was moving tapes, it's like it wasn't accepted. They was throwing them on the ground. It was like, hey man, this is Edward J and this is Jelly land. This ain't y'all land. Y'all can't come do this, And we was working with Atlanta artists. So it was like it was well. So I think, moving forward, I think the Atlanta the pivotal point for us was, that time when people really, I think it was Gangsta Girls 1 mixtape. They really accepted us because, I happened to be on the road with Lil Scrappy. Drum was rolling with T.I. T.I. was co-signing the hell out of us early, you know what I'm saying? When he wasn't even there. He was, I'm serious T.I.
Yes.
He was moving and, after we did that mixtape, we watching and loving the artists come like, yo, we like what y'all doing.
Yeah.
Shout out to Tower Records. Shout out to Tower Records.
Tower Records. So they're accepting that pivotal point of them accepting us made me feel like no other city, because I still go to cities where they don't accept out of towners. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like you go to New York, they still push you out like this New York. You know what I'm saying? You know what I mean? So I think coming to Atlanta and us doing, going through that stage of having to do groundwork. They didn't accept us off the rip, so it was like, oh, there's gonna be some hard work. We had to set up at colleges. We had to go downtown to the flea market. We had to go to the little 5 points. The way we were moving around was like, if you do this any other, like we're not going to Marcy Projects. You know what I'm saying? I think that Atlanta was like, still like, they from New York, but let me hear what you got. And
right. It's Southern hospitality. I mean, it was in the music too.
Yeah, and it wasn't like stealing the swag. We were trying to enhance, you know what I mean? Because we seen some holes in where people would have kept doing things in a way where it had just been a system. And it's like, mixtapes with a sticker on it. We brought the covers to Atlanta. You know what I'm saying? The creative covers. We brought the hosts. We doing the one artist mixtapes. When we first got our hands on some of those mixtapes, there was a lot of acapellas over beats, a lot of skate rink mixtapes, just a lot of blends, a lot of stuff. And it was like, yo, how can we break some of these artists? That's a lot of artists from Atlanta that ain't gotten that look. And we kind of took like a mesh of the up north mentality of mixtapes and down here mixtapes and kind of meshed them to make it, and they accepted it. And that, that was the real point. It was like, oh, I really messed with Atlanta.
Look, Bam, why do you heard what Touki said about like just that, how musically, we have collectively supported our artists. To what do you attribute that? Is it just that Atlanta culture and going back to the World Series and how everything kind of catapulted from there? Bam, speak to that and how we just embrace our artists, we embrace our culture, we embrace the love. Speak to that.
I guess first of all, there's an artist I'm listening to. This cat, I think he might have went to Maze. I'm not, he's a young dude named Kenny Mason. Yo, he's very raw Atlanta sound, but you can tell this dude is like musical.
Right.
Man. But yeah, check out Complex. I think just did an article on him.
Okay.
Young dude. But I think like so Dave Justice, right? Like because Atlanta, we had music, like the music was going in 95, and I'm the same age as Crisscross. Like we like same exact age. And it was jumping, but we didn't have the celebrities here all the way. Like there had been like some MC Hammer sightings when Dion was here.
Right.
But like when Dave Justice started dating Halle Berry, like that was like, and this was obviously before the Jermaine Janet, because it was a big thing to see a Janet Jackson sighting just randomly in Atlanta like that.
Yeah.
And it's the same for like Halle Berry. Like you had people be like, yo, like I saw Halle, I think, like, and that was, so that energy of Atlanta becoming, you could feel the energy. And I think, when Sid Bream, that everybody cracked these Sid Bream jokes about his knee, and I guess like trying to get to like home plate, we were willing him to get to home plate so we could win, but we knew we needed that win for like bigger than the Braves. Like the city needed the win.
Well, we're gonna before we wrap everything up, I want everybody to answer this question. Don Cannon, I'm gonna start with you. What does Atlanta mean to you?
Atlanta's home now. Atlanta is everything. The warm welcome they gave me, I'll never forget it as long as I live. I will continue to push the Atlanta culture, with a patch. It's somewhat a little harder when you're from somewhere else and you pushing it. It's like, because some people like, yeah, because you don't know the real Atlanta. 92 Atlanta, Dominique Wilkins, you don't know that. So how you representing the city? So I'd be like, you know what I'm saying? I'd be like, I can. I've been here 20 years. I'm 20 and 20 now. You know what I mean? So, I think it's everything to me. It showed me so much for a city that they always claimed didn't have this big art culture, but we built it to be an art culture.
Yes, absolutely.
Just being part of so many pieces of Atlanta. From I've had pieces in my career where I started, helping. They call me the grandfather of hipsters here, and from the 2010 to 20 started a whole new wave. Fadia was around, Bing was around. It just changed everything. So I'm Atlanta now. You know what I mean? I'm one tattoo away from being the egg.
Bang, what about you? And then we'll end with Touki. What about you? What does Atlanta mean to you? Obviously, it means everything. You have created an entire brand from it, but it's bigger than a T-shirt. It's bigger than a slogan. Like, it's a feeling. I don't want to answer for you, but I'm from Atlanta, like, so I understand like that feeling. Is just like, you can't even put it into words. It feels so good to be from this city, especially in the 90s. Oh God. Okay, go ahead, Bang.
Yeah, so that's that freaknik energy. I love it. In Atlanta magazine.
Like Touki, like, what are you guys talking about, freaknik? I wasn't born.
He a product of it, probably.
Right. Go ahead, Bang.
Atlanta magazine some years ago had an issue dedicated to Atlanta. It's Atlanta magazine, but it was titled "The '90s, the decade that made Atlanta." And there was a bunch of pictures, like a collage that they did representing the 90s. And it had the Braves World Series. It also had, like, I think Cartoon Network started in the 90s. But most of the pictures of the collage were things that were either Black people directly or things that dealt with Black culture. And so if Atlanta magazine said that the 90s was the decade that really made Atlanta,
yes,
and it was so apparently so Black, then I think that's something to pay onus to and kind of pay attention to moving forward. And with an understanding that, in all honesty, with the exception of a few people, we've just been existing. So we influencing everything and doing all of this with not as much intentionality.
Mm-hmm.
Like, if we were to say, well, oh, because we influence everything, you know what? We created a movie tax. We're going to figure out, because influencers make money. So if we were to intentionally kind of produce and put policy and infrastructure around what's already naturally been happening, you haven't seen. And what that means is if we were to intentionally produce the business of the influence, the business of the culture. So that's like, we're producing young Karen Civils, young Rashan Ali's, like we're producing young sports agents, young Fadias, like if we're intentionally, because I think a lot of us, how we got here is just by pure grind and hustle, you know what I'm saying? But now that we know what it is, right? We know we can spot younger versions of us. And there's so many younger versions of us. There's young Adrian Williams like around Atlanta that's in these public schools that's like, yo, I didn't even know working for the Braves organization was an actual job. I knew the player. You could see, but I didn't know. And it's like, it'll be dope. It's got to feel dope for somebody like Toussaint to have like, it's that LeBron, it's that Rich Paul Maverick Carter, when you can look across the table and do business with a peer. You know what I'm saying? Do business with somebody. It's like, yo, you know what I'm saying? And I think Atlanta has the ability moving forward to actually breed Don Cannons. Like you can breed them. I hate that's maybe a weird thing to say, breed.
But no, I get what you're saying. I get what you're saying.
But that's my take.
Right. And Touki, go ahead with what does Atlanta mean to you? We know that first of all, we're proud of you. We are going to we're going to continue to root you on, and the entire team. But you know, when we find somebody, because of the lack of diversity that we see a lot in Major League Baseball, like you give us hope. I mean, I just want to say thank you from the bottom of my heart, from a daughter of a baseball coach, baseball player, football coach. My dad's first love is baseball. But I just want to say thank you for what you are continuing to do. And as we close out, what does Atlanta mean to you coming off the heels of this 25th anniversary as we celebrate the 1995 World Series?
I have 3 words to describe it: family, fortitude, and humility. And I use those 3 words just for myself, lifestyle-wise, but I see a lot of that in Atlanta. Family, everybody takes you in. No matter where you're from, no matter what you've been through, somebody's going to take you in and help you and guide you. Fortitude, because just the grind from that 96 and then going slowly down and then coming right back up. So now we're at the top, you know what I mean? And just in the baseball aspect too, from winning a World Series to going through that little phase, going through it, and now we're at the top. And I use humility because, man, like this was one of the most humbling things for me. And one of the biggest artists right now, you could say Little Baby. And I'm sitting in the elevator, and I'm like, is that Baby? My boy's like, yeah. And I was just shocked because where I'm from, like, you don't really see people like, you see them, but you don't really see them just hanging out and just walking around and acting like they're normal people. And my boy had to explain it to me, like, man, like in Atlanta, everybody treats you like you're a regular person.
Yes.
If they saw Baby fall, they would pick him up. Hey, man, go ahead.
Yeah. And
I remember this is even before he even got on here, Offset. I remember when him and Cardi went to the mall, I was there. And everybody's like, oh, Offset Cardi. And they just kept walking, said hello. They're just acting as like regular people. And that's something I take. And that's why I don't really use that baseball. I just try to be a regular person, if that makes sense.
Yeah, we get it. We understand. We you know. But gentlemen, I just want to thank you so much for your time. This was a great, candid conversation. Touki Toussaint from the Atlanta Braves. Continued success to you. Don Cannon, music executive, founder of Generation Now. Bem Joiner from Atlanta influences everything. And Atlanta does influence everything. Make sure you tune into the World Series week on Fox Sports South. First pitch is at 7 p.m. all this week. And we hope that you are enjoying that. And hopefully you are enjoying these amazing candid conversations. Thank you so much, gentlemen. Have a great night. And A-Town, stay down.
Thank y'all for having me. Let's go hard, Touki.